We're officially 2 weeks away from the opening kickoff in the 2026 USL League One season, and we learned just yesterday that there are still some moving parts in this league. It was reported by Alex Ashton from USL League One Updater that South Georgia Tormenta may be taking a hiatus from the entire 2026 season. Alex is going to join us tonight on the show to give us the latest developments in that story. We also have a lot to talk about with Fort Wayne FC as they added 2 new players to their roster this year, a familiar face and a new player from across the pond from the Arsenal Academy that we'll talk all about. That and more tonight in this episode of Fort Wayne Footy. This episode of Fort Wayne Footy is brought to you by OmniSource, one of America's largest processors, distributors, and managers of scrap and secondary metals based right here in Fort Wayne. Check out their services at omnisource.com. Fort Wayne Footy is also brought to you by LaserX, the Midwest's largest laser tag and arcade. They specialize in birthday parties, corporate team building, youth groups, sports teams, and family entertainment. You can find them at laserxfw.com. That's laser with a Z. And if you get over there, be sure to tell them Fort Wayne Footy sent you. Well, here we are, another episode of Fort Wayne Footy. Welcome to the show. We're excited tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, including a not-so-fun story out of South Georgia with Tormenta that you heard here in the intro. We've got Alex Ashton joining us shortly to talk a little bit about that. But, guys, we've got some new signings for Fort Wayne FC, and we're going to have a conversation later in the show about this attack that they've put together that we, at least to this point, can only speculate about, but a good group of guys that have a proven track record in other leagues and other places, putting balls in the back of the net. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. Tonight we have Micah joining me and Sean Black. Welcome, guys. How you feeling tonight?
Great, Brian. Thanks for having me. It's been a couple weeks. I feel like I haven't been on in a lifetime.
I know, we've missed you. You were on the soccer field. You're on the sidelines this last weekend for
that's true.
A couple matches. Yeah,
absolutely. So, just trying to stay busy.
And we didn't really get a chance to talk to you last week. Micah brought up at the end of our show, like we totally forgot to announce that you were named the head coach of 1927 SC. Out of the Midwest Premier League here. Congratulations to you officially on the show for being named coach there.
Yeah, I've had some conversation with Dave Bennett over the last couple of weeks. Couldn't really share anything because it wasn't official. But yeah, finally put pen to paper and said, let's do it. So timing works out perfectly. I'm excited to get back into the men's game. I love coaching my high school girls. I love coaching my U13 boys, but there's something about coaching men that's just a little different. And I'm excited to get back on the field.
All right. Very exciting. Well, congratulations. We're excited to hear more about that as things develop with your signings and your schedule and all that coming out real soon. And Sean, welcome back to the show, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Obviously, lots to talk about, and excited to kind of dig into it and hang out with you guys. So looking forward to a great show.
Silky smooth sound coming out of Sean Black tonight with that new mic there in front of him.
I'm sponsored by Brian Biedenbach. So
aren't we all?
No, happy to help, man. Just love what you have to bring, and I want to make sure people hear you clearly. So anyway, we've got some results from some local games here that were played this weekend. The 1927 SC men that we just mentioned that Micah will be coaching this summer played in their Major League Indoor Soccer match tonight and won against FC Indiana 7-4. It was a pretty lopsided match from what we understand. Our buddy Paul was there streaming the game. 1927. Mike, it looks like you got a good team to take over there with some of those guys returning.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to know him. Can't wait to talk to him. Dave has had great things to say about the whole roster from top to bottom. So, I couldn't make it out tonight. My son had a match, and I wanted once the spring season gets along, I have only limited opportunities to watch him play. So I try to sneak in as many games that I can now. So just prioritize that tonight, but I'll be out there soon enough.
There you go. The Sentinels results, the men had the night off or the weekend off and have 2 more games to get that first win of the season. One away at Toronto on the 28th and then at Pittsburgh, who they started the season with on March the 7th, which is a date that should ring a bell because it's Fort Wayne FC's first match of the season as well. They'll be down in Naples. The women played 2 games. The Sentinels women played 2 games this weekend in Kalamazoo. A 6-2 comfortable win there against Kalamazoo in Kalamazoo. And then today, a heartbreaker of a loss, 7-6 to New Jersey, ended on a penalty late in the game. Blue card, player got sent off, and penalty was taken. And the Sentinels women lost to New Jersey 7-6. So I don't know, you guys, I don't think you've been out to see them yet. They've only had 1 home game last weekend, but they're a fun group to watch. I just encourage you to get out and check out any of their home games that they have left. I know they got a couple coming up here in March. That competitive team. They're fun to watch. They're fun, the energy, everything. Very, very good team. Get out and watch the Sentinels women. And then we mentioned last week, Lucha here from Fort Wayne got a call up to the Guatemala U20s, and he was live on Instagram. I don't know if he's watching us tonight, but he was live on Instagram earlier this week, and I reached out and congratulated him and told him that we wanted to have him on the show here soon to talk about his experience there at the U20 Guatemalan camp. So look forward to that at some point in the future. We got to schedule all that and get that taken care of, but would love to have Lucha on the show. There was a big showcase, that's the word I'm looking for, that almost escaped me this week. A lot of our teams here locally played in. We had Cleveland Force coming in. We had teams from Michigan, Columbus, Ohio, here
Chicago.
Chicago, that's right, Chicago. A lot of Midwestern teams, a lot of good talent here at the younger, like academy ages. So a lot of fun soccer to watch. I'm sure many of you are out there with your kids, if nothing else, watching their teams, their club teams play. The women's was, I think, last weekend or 2 weekends ago. So a lot of good soccer happening around town. We're outdoors next weekend. It could be in the teens for a Sunday morning, 8 a.m. kickoff for the 09 boys, Osnabrück from Fort Wayne Sport Club. And it's going to be a fun, cold weekend there in Indianapolis next week. So, but man, all that means is that there's a lot of soccer coming up, and the season is really getting rolling from club level to professional level. There's a lot of soccer to talk about, and you'll hear it here on Fort Wayne Footy, and a new show that we're going to talk a little bit about later on tonight, if there's time. I think we told you about that last week. But hey, we want to bring in our guest now here in just a moment, give you a little bit of background. We're diving into one of the biggest developing stories in USL League One currently. If you remember, we talked in previous weeks, previous months of 21 teams coming into the start of the 2026 season. 14 teams last year, 21 teams this year. We heard 3 of them, 2 of them postponed. They pulled out right before schedules came out. Sporting Cascades and Fort Lauderdale was the other one. Texoma FC pulled out earlier and decided they were going back to USL 2 for the next season. And so 3 of the teams already pulled out. We're now 2 weeks away from the season, and we're hearing rumors of South Georgia Tormenta, a team that's been in the league, may not be playing in the league in 2026. We're joined tonight by Alex Ashton from USL League One Updater, who broke the story yesterday to help us understand what's really happening and what comes next. We're going to bring him on now. Alex Ashton, welcome to the show. You're not there. There we go. Now you're on the show. I spent the scenes and you weren't there. Welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For sure. So Alex he covers narratives, player stories, transactions, expansion, and other USL League One storylines from the USL show, Beyond the 90, League One Updater, River City 93 out of Richmond, Virginia with the Richmond Kickers. So Alex, you're all over USL soccer, and there's a lot of knowledge in that noggin of yours that I'm sure we'll pick your brain a little bit tonight. But you broke the story about South Georgia Tormenta taking a hiatus yesterday for the 2026 season. What tipped you off to something was going on with Tormenta?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the stories that I hate about this league, and every year it seems to be happening to one or two teams. But yeah, about a week ago, I got tipped off that the team had not started preseason training, which is odd considering every other team in the league has been posting numerous photos of their trainings, their preseason matches, and all of this. And Tormenta had just not started. Came to find out there was an insurance bill that was preventing them from getting together and playing as a team. They hadn't been paid, and they were waiting on making the payment. Don't know details beyond that, except that it sounds like Friday may have been like a go, no-go date on that. And then Saturday morning, the rumors just started flying around. My phone starts blowing up around 10 a.m. Have you heard what's going on? That Tormenta might not be fielding a team in 2026. A few of us kind of like did our investigation, contacted numerous sources, people we know, that would know. By about noon, we had confirmed that it sounded like they were not fielding a team in 2026. We also heard that the official announcement was supposed to be tonight. That has not happened. The league and the club are absolutely silent on the matter.
It's only 9 o'clock though. There's still time, right?
I mean, I guess if you want to do like a late Sunday news dump, this would be the time to do it. But it sounds like it's going to be delayed until possibly tomorrow. We'll find out more, but that's about where we are. And I know that the players and agents representing players have been already reaching out to other teams as a contingency. There is possibly a plan that there will be a draft of the players amongst the rest of the USL One teams, where they would have to pick up their contract as signed with Tormenta. And then if not selected, or if the players opt not to go to the draft, there's an option to take a 3-month severance package. That was confirmed by multiple people on the agent player level. As far as the draft, I have gotten a little bit of pushback from some of the team executives about, that is, I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah. So nothing officially has been confirmed or denied from the league as far as the league is concerned. As far as any of us are concerned, from the league's perspective, this is still happening. Beyond the stories that you've heard and the people that you've talked to that have confirmed that no, there isn't going to be a team this year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we're just waiting on official word is what it sounds like. And so you primarily financial issue, it sounds like, with what you shared with us just a moment ago.
So if you think about South Georgia Tormenta, they're one of the league originals. They're a 10-year-old club. They predate USL League One. They were in USL 2, which was then called USL PDL, as I think back in like 2017. So they were supposed to be entering their 10th season. They won a title in 2022. They're also in the smallest professional market in the country. Statesboro, Georgia. I don't know if you're familiar. It's where Georgia Southern University is. It's a small town. I think I did the math one time, and it was like 70,000 in the metro area if you don't count Savannah, which I don't really count because it's like just far enough away where people aren't going to drive from Savannah to Statesboro to see Tormenta. But it's a small market, so it was always going to be a big risk for the owners to get that project going. They've had a pay to play youth system that generates revenue. Like I said, they've had the USL 2. They had a USL 1 team that is still scheduled for this year.
Yeah.
They have their own stadium. It's not completed, but it's their own. So they checked a lot of boxes correct, but the attendance has been a big problem over the last few years since they won the title, where they're down to averaging less than 1,000 per match, and that's just that's not sustainable.
Okay, so they've had a 9-year at least history going on their 10th year. Why now was this the thing beyond the attendance issues or whatever? Like, has something changed with ownership or beyond attendance?
No, not to our knowledge. The same owners. From listening to interviews with the owner, it sounds like he is a major landholder owns a lot of land like in that area of the stadium, and had been like developing it, and that's how he was making the money. But yeah, nothing. I don't know of anything that really changed, unless just people in Statesboro got bored of going to these games. But yeah, like when they won the title, I think they had 3,500 people that night, which in that kind of a market, that's like the size of Sarasota Stadium. That's a respectable number, but it just wasn't able to be sustained.
So Alex, was this, this doesn't sound like it's just something that just suddenly happened and it's collapsed. Have there been like warning signs with Tormenta, the last,
yes.
Over some time, or can you dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, over the last few years, there's always been the same rumors popping up that they're out of cash, that they're going to fold. I think end of last season, I know like the entire staff like departed at the very end of the season, and that's never. There is a lot of turnover in front offices in this level, but to lose everyone like that is just kind of a little bit of a red flag. But they've always just somehow found a way to survive year after year.
How common are these stories in these lower level leagues? Like, has this recurred
almost every year?
Okay.
Almost every year. You go back to the first season, Lansing Ignite out of Michigan was in the title match and then promptly folded at the end of that season after just one season. Northern Colorado Hailstorm had a bunch of this kind of financial drama a couple years ago. They were basically booted out of the league. They had their franchise revoked. They now still exist in the league for clubs. But then Central Valley Fuego also left that year because they had stadium. They didn't have their own stadium and just had, I guess, a lot of conflicts with where they were playing at Fresno State University. So yeah, it is unfortunately, and then Texoma last year. So it is unfortunately common.
Has it happened this close to the start of a season before though? Like I know that it's been pretty volatile, but this seems like this is a little unusual.
This is unprecedented. Yes. The sanctioning process happens at the, in September or October, November, the league approves the teams for the next season and they get the schedule rolling. So, they were obviously approved to play this season.
Well, right. And we had Sporting Cascades that we mentioned. We had Fort Lauderdale United that things were really, really quiet about those two teams. Again, like you said, nothing on social media from those teams for quite a while. And so rumors were flying around, but that was before the schedules were released. Soon as that announcement was made, I think a week later or 2 weeks later, schedules came out. So teams could start making their plans for travel. They know where they're going. And now this. So I'm curious, like, one, what are the key decisions that Tormenta still has to make, if any? Maybe it's just an announcement. And then what kind of ripple effects does this have for the rest of the league, teams that were hosting them and teams that were planning to travel there?
So the rest of all the teams have promised a certain number of matches to their season ticket holders, and they'll have to fill in with a friendly. That's where I've heard that most teams are scrambling to fill in an extra friendly at some point to make up for it. So that's like the biggest impact for those teams. And then that's one, the away match at Tormenta, that's another one gone from the schedule. Still, I think we'll still have a balanced schedule. So that's not a concern, I guess. And then then the ripple effect is for the players who moved, a lot of whom I think they brought in mostly. I think they kept maybe like 4 or 5 people and then brought in all new people who have moved to Statesboro at this point and signed contracts, expected to be playing for the season, and now are like, and especially for like some of the older players, it's going to be, very difficult to find a spot in a league that's just continuing to grow younger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you feel bad for the players, right? Like you just said, but what about the staff, the coaches, the trainers and things that work, the people on the peripheries even that worked with the team that now are out of a job as well?
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess there's still like that Hail Mary where funds could come through and they could keep the staff for the year. I don't think that sounds very reasonable. So yeah, I mean, it's and a club like Tormenta, they do kind of operate on a bare bones staff already. So it's not like too many people, but yeah, it's still, it affects people's lives.
Yeah. What about like the rest of the league? I'm sure that this isn't a common thing across the league. Like, are there teams that are stable and thriving?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, Portland, obviously, Richmond, Omaha, Madison, most, I would say at this point, there are far more teams that are sustainable and thriving than are not. Especially if Tormenta does not advance. That there's maybe like a tiny bit of like yellow flag or smoke coming from some clubs, but nothing like too significant that would cause something like this.
Yeah. What are, like, for an expansion team specifically, like Fort Wayne coming into the league, that I'm sure the ownership, I'm sure their front office knew what they were getting into, did their research with USL One, knew the volatility of some of these clubs and the league in general, teams kind of bouncing in and out from year to year. But what are, from your perspective and the time you've been covering USL One, what are some of the, pitfalls or roadblocks that teams should be looking for coming in to make sure they are stable, they are ready to go, and they're, again, like Tormenta has been around for a while and suddenly their things came out from under them.
Yeah, I had this conversation with an owner of one of the teams a year or two ago, and he said that like the biggest one is control of your own stadium. Obviously for Tormenta that didn't help, but having your own stadium is like a huge part of it. Making that jump from USL 2 or an amateur league into the pros, you have to consider like the massive change in your payroll. Going from basically, paying no one and maybe paying like some housing stipends or something, and now paying like anywhere from like 750 to, $1.4 million. And then you have to have a professional front office, and there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we don't know the exact numbers. They're notoriously secretive about financials. I guess, out of the whole being, just insecure about stability, but it's, you're looking at, I would say like, 5-10 million a year to operate a team. Travel expenses, that's another big one, is travel. Because if you look at where all these teams are located, they're all in middle markets except for Charlotte. And I guess you could say AV Alta counts as Los Angeles, but most of the teams are in mid-market locations where it's more expensive to fly. You have to, travel takes longer. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the big ones there.
Yeah.
And then just having that extra capital to lose money until a team that can be brought to that break-even point. And from what I've heard, like, there is no profitable team in the league besides Portland. There's probably a lot. I think there are multiple ones that like get close to or do break even, but it's, this is not a profitable league yet. And you have to be able to have that capital to sustain, how many years. Like, I think the other night on the Spokane soccer show, the owner of Spokane Velocity said, he doesn't expect to even break even for 5 years.
Wow.
And you have to be able to do that. And that's even probably being optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and it does make me optimistic about our group, our ownership group, and our front office and staff. And
I think they've done it right.
Yeah, and even to the point where things are quiet until they are certain, and then they make an announcement where, we talked about some other teams jumping ahead and saying we're entering the league, and then we're not ready, so we're not entering the league. So I am grateful for our front office here in Fort Wayne and what they're doing. We do have a large stadium, though, 9,200 seat stadium that they do own. They will have control of that stadium, but that's a lot of seats to fill in year one. So we're cautiously optimistic about getting people in those seats to get the team there, right? Get them over that line.
Have they mentioned any numbers or anything about season tickets?
I haven't heard numbers officially on what they've sold. I know I have my season tickets. I don't know where they're at. They said they're hitting their marks is all I've heard. So yeah, we'll see. I know they're still for sale, and there's more out there to be had, Sean. You can get yours still, Sean. We do have a couple of questions in the chat, if you don't mind. I'll throw a couple up here. Christina asked, what are the repercussions for this type of mishandling, quote unquote, if that's what you want to call it, for the front office?
That's, I don't really know because we haven't had a team. The only team in the USL pro team in USL that has gone on hiatus and then has not even returned yet, but they're getting there. It's Oklahoma City. But I do believe they went through an entire ownership group change and all this. NCFC, North Carolina FC, pulled this at the end of 2025, where they said, we're going on hiatus and we're going to try to join the USL Premier in 2028. I mean, that guy is among the fans as a pariah. So it's is he going to bring back a team and are fans going to respond if he's involved? So it's more I guess, social repercussions. I don't know of any league repercussions. I'm sure, you get on that list of bad owners, you might need a little bit more capital if you want to come back, but
right.
I think it's more, I think it's just more social business repercussions.
Yeah,
sure.
Like I said, we haven't seen a team try to come back except for Oklahoma City. So
yeah,
I would think the amount of money that they lose, the future revenue that they lose, would be punishment enough, right? Just personal finances at that point.
Yeah.
Question from Jared: was the USL stepping in and taking over to get them through the season? Was that ever floated out there, or do we have any information on that?
Don't really have any information on that. I mean, there's rumors and speculation that they possibly happened this past year, but that's not confirmed. I don't. I can't really answer that. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to throw it out there. We had a question here. Also in the chat, mentioned what you just talked about. North Carolina FC announced during their playoff run last fall that they weren't fielding a team for the next 2 years. Looking to get into that. Premier, when it comes around. So, and
that was another one that was terrible for the players, because they had a lot of people, multiple players under 2-year contracts that then are just okay, here's 2 months severance pay because that's what's in the CBA. And then they had to walk, and I think a good number they had a very talented squad, and a good number of them have found homes, but there are some who have not yet. And the positions are dwindling as the season approaches.
Yeah.
Alex, can I ask? We've kind of mentioned that this league can kind of be like the wild, wild west as we've kind of compared it. Now, and since you've covered the league for a decent amount of time, and you see it where it is now, would you say it's that it's at the most stable foundation phase that you've seen the league?
Yes. I do think it is it's as stable as it's ever been right now. I really thought this was going to be the year that we would not see any teams leave, and then Texoma and now possibly Tormenta. And I know Tormenta, if they leave now, it's a huge black eye for the league. Very bad look. and does not really show stability. But I think overall, I think the league is doing a better job of vetting ownership groups and bringing in people who are more, more stable, more solid. I especially like what the ownership at Fort Wayne and AC Boise and Portland, they've all in particular have done. I think Sarasota has a pretty solid plan. So yeah, I do think it is, despite all of this, I do think it is pretty stable at this point.
Yeah. Let's wrap up this conversation, Alex, on a brighter note than all the bad news about Tormenta and some of these other teams, right? From what you've seen as teams sign players and develop, and all the hush hush behind the quietness of the preseason friendlies that many of us have not been able to see. Like, there's a lot of speculation in the league right now on who's where and whatever. But is there a team besides your Richmond Kickers there that you're local, that you look at and go, this team could really do something this year? Or is a league that volatile that like any given year any team could do it, because it's like they change so much?
Yeah, so this is I've had a conversation about this a few hours ago, hanging out with some of the Kickers fans. Yeah, so I think if you look at the league right now, I would put Omaha, Spokane, and Portland top 3. AC Boise as the wild card among the expansions at this time. And then beyond that, it's anyone's league. It is almost impossible to rank the rest of the league right now, because
even One Knox, the champions last year.
One Knox, they shed a lot of the impactful players from that squad in the offseason. I think I mentioned this on the USL show a couple weeks ago, where I half joking, but I was like, in our 50-50 prediction, I was like, I think there's a 50-50 chance that Knoxville doesn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that was a fun show. I did get to see that one. That was a lot of fun. I love the way you guys did that, but I do remember that prediction.
That said, they do have, they have one of the best coaches in the league in Ian Fuller, and they did keep a decent core of the other players, and have brought in some decent players. So, but like I said, like there's so much turnover this year in the league among all the rosters that it's nearly impossible to rank anyone beyond the 4 that I listed right now. Like I don't even have a wooden spoon pick right now, because I think you never, like last year we said Westchester was going to be in that top 4, and Westchester won the wooden spoon. Said Chattanooga was going to get the wooden spoon, and they nearly won the Players' Shield. Yeah, so, the chaos, the vibes and chaos in this league are what makes it so much fun to watch and follow.
One thing we know about Fort Wayne is we talked to Coach Avery. We've seen the roster as it's developed, right? Their average age is like 23 and a half. Yeah. So a young team coming into the league. It's not a much more seasoned league, but a lot of older players in their mid to upper 20s that we'll see more than Fort Wayne FC. So a lot of youth that, again, a lot of talent yet to be proven at this level. So we're, again, optimistic about chances here in Fort Wayne, but you just never know.
I would say one player on Fort Wayne I'm excited to see in action is Tag Healy. And he was one of my best friends is an NC State alum, and he paid attention to the season this year, the championship. He's like that guy that was the 3rd best player on the team, and the other 2 on the team got are going right to the MLS, right? So I'm excited to see him in the pro ranks.
Yeah, we are too. We're going to talk a little bit here in a few minutes about the attacking core of Fort Wayne FC and what we know about them and how we think they will play together. But again, all speculation. A lot of good conversation coming up. Alex, thanks for being part of the show tonight. Thanks for the story last night that you put out about South Georgia. I know you've been on a couple shows since then talking about it, but thanks for joining us here on Fort Wayne Footy. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Alex.
Where can switch over to YouTube and listen to the rest of the show?
Yeah. Hey, before you go, where can people find you? All the places that I mentioned earlier. Do you have a place that you point them to look you up if they want to get in touch?
I mean, I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky under League One Updater, like it's Blue Sky, league1updater.com. And then I write for Beyond the 90 and River City 93 right now.
Very good. Well, Alex, we hope to talk with you at some point again later this season.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, man.
All right. Fun interview with Alex there. I know there's a lot happening around the league as we sit and wait in some of the silence for what is going to be with South Georgia Tormenta.
I loved at the end where he said it's all vibes and chaos.
Vibes and chaos.
Like that. And I love that. So it makes me excited just to see exactly what this season is going to look like.
The Wild West and a league of vibes and chaos. On that note, let's go to our ads and our sponsors, and we'll come back right after this.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Dead One Pest Control. If you've been looking for a local pest control service in Fort Wayne and surrounding communities, look no further than Dead One Pest Control. They work with both residential and commercial clients to get rid of all types of pests, including those dreaded bed bugs. No job is too big or small for them to handle, so you can count on their capable crew for whatever local pest control service you need. Reach out today to schedule an appointment at deadonepestcontrol.com. And remember, the only good pest is a dead one. And if you're looking for tree service of any kind, including removal, trimming, stump grinding, or landscaping, check out R&T Tree Experts. They work year-round, even through these cold winter months, so you don't have to wait for spring. Just visit their website, fill out their estimate request form, and be sure to tell them Fort Wayne Footy sent you to receive 10% off your service.
All right. Thank you to our sponsors, top of the show and mid-show sponsors. We appreciate you for helping us do what we do and provide the coverage we do of Fort Wayne FC and local teams here. We do want to remind you, we do have Patreon, and we have a couple supporters over there. Most recently, Jason Hemsouth joining us as a monthly supporter, along with Christina Copeland, Ryan Smeltzer, and the Snyder family. Thank you for your support. There are one-time donation options. If you don't like the monthly option, you want to just you want to support what we do and give one time, you're able to do that. We'll throw that up here on the screen for you. You can join the Footy Faithful on Patreon, join our community with a paid membership. You get access to our Discord, Fort Wayne Footy Discord, which is there's a lot of lively chat over there. And that's where actually we first learned of the story of South Georgia pulling out of the league for 2026 season. So a lot of good extra content, a lot of good conversation there. Join us on Patreon, become one of the Footy Faithful, and we'll see you on the other side. If you want to reach out, get in touch with us. Any social media, Facebook, Instagram, here on YouTube, or email if that's your best option, info@fortwaynefooty.com. We would love to hear from you, feedback on the shows. If you're interested in getting involved with what we do, we're looking for some staff writers this year. We have some photographers joining us. We would love to hear from you if you've got interest in being a part of what we do here. All right, gentlemen, let's transition to some Fort Wayne FC talk here. There's been a couple signings announced this week. One that we've been waiting for is Ari Briscoe, second goalkeeper signed to the team. He is, a familiar face, fan favorite, one that everybody wanted to see back on this team. 3 seasons with the club in USL League 2. He's played 34 matches for Fort Wayne FC, which is, I think, third all-time for Fort Wayne FC as far as number of matches played. 2023 Golden Glove winner. With a .43 goals against average.
That's insane.
That is absolutely. Have you ever seen that, Sean? That's insane.
No, I haven't. But you're the expert on the GKs, Brian. So you would,
oh my goodness. A 1 to 1.5, I think, is pretty elite status for goals against average. Under 1 is top tier. Under .5, that's craziness. So Ari Briscoe signed that he's earned a spot with this team just based on his performance with them in a different league, USL League 2, the last 3 seasons, but glad to see him there. Then we have Daniel Oyetunde. I think I'm saying that right. Is a forward, 19 years old, out of the Arsenal Academy there in England. 5 seasons with the Academy, played for St. Albans City, was loaned out there. FA Cup match experience, he got in there, and he'll be used according to Coach Abe. We've got a winger here, which is interesting because we have a lot of attackers that, again, we'll talk about here in a minute, that can play any of those roles. He was specifically mentioned he'll be used as a winger, which is interesting that we can talk a little bit about. But your thoughts on Fort Wayne FC's latest signings, Ari and Daniel?
I think with Ari, who else comes with Ari? We're going to have more conversation with Raquel.
That's right.
I'm excited about that as well. But no, I think Ari has been the one that we've been waiting for the longest. And that was when this whole thing came about. Ari was probably the first name that we mentioned as a possible signing for the club. So I love the fact that they're bringing back so many people from their squad last year, so they have that consistency. And Ari just seems like a great teammate as well. So if I had to rank him, I'd probably say Shipman's probably the number 1 going into the season. But Ari's going to give everything he can to get on the field and push Shipman as well.
Yeah. And have you seen pictures of him lately? Like the one they posted just recently, like his signing photo, like he's bulked up, man. He looks like he's been in the weight room a lot this off season. Looking forward to seeing him back there. And just like he looks like he wants it. He's hungry, man. Hopefully we'll get him on the show to talk a little bit more about it later on as we go. Sean, Ari, Daniel, any thoughts on these two guys?
I'm definitely excited about, again, Oye Tunde. I don't know how to best to say it, but we'll say Daniel for
it's safer.
Yeah. Coach Abe has had some high praise for him, and I think we're getting someone who's coming out of like the very famous Arsenal Academy, who's just known for producing players and talent. And he's so young, 19 years old. That is super exciting. But yeah, coaches specifically said on the wing, says he can glide past defenders and he's goal dangerous on either side. So again, just opening up some flexibility for our attack, seems like, really exciting signing. So I'm excited to see the young pup on the pitch.
Yeah. I've got a couple, right? We got another 19-year-old on the back line, plays right back.
It was a Jaden Smith, right?
Yeah. Jaden Smith.
I think he's English as well. Yeah. Came out of Coventry.
Yeah. So a lot of youth on the field, right? Bringing down that average age below 24 years old.
I think that's exciting. I think that's like the story that we want to hear out of the smaller leagues like USL 1, of giving these young kids an opportunity. And then in 5 years, Fort Wayne FC could certainly be the springboard for their careers. Like they just need visibility and have people see him play. Diego Luna is a great example of that, where he had his opportunities. I think in the championship, though, I don't think he was USL 1. And then his career just skyrocketed after that. So definitely excited to see not just Daniel, but Jaden Smith as well.
Yeah. I do love the fact that the way Fort Wayne is approaching it, and we've talked about it on previous shows too, this being a development place for these young players, which is why a guy like Daniel Oyetunde wanted to come here. Is not getting a lot of first team looks at Arsenal Academy, looking to break into a senior roster with any of the divisions in English soccer. And it's just so hard to break in over there. And so I've read a couple reports from, stateside reports and English reports about this kid, and his move leaving Arsenal to come to Fort Wayne is a big decision to cut ties with an academy where you played for 5 years that has potential for Premier League experience, but wanting to move on at 19 years old to get his first crack at a senior team where he'd be paid to play and can develop, and wanted to come here because of Fort Wayne's ambition, their plans, and the people they have around them. So that speaks volumes, I think, about, our conversation earlier about the ownership and the ambition and the the galvanizing of this team that someone wants to leave Arsenal to come here to play in our first season ever, I think speaks a lot.
And that's laying the groundwork for future signings as well. If, say, Ayatunde Daniel works, right? Now we're going to get other people looking at Fort Wayne as they're a great developmental team. They gave me all the tools, all the opportunities at this pivotal stage of my career. So now we're going to get a higher quality of player as well because they want to play for us. So I love these signings by the front office. I think this is going to be a big part of the long-term plan.
Yeah. Alex is back in the chat with us saying it hurts when they leave, but it's so exciting to see USL One players move up. So, we're under no, false pretense that like these players are going to come and stay. Like we want to make sure that's the narrative, right? That going into this league, that we want to develop players and move players on and move players up. We would love to keep players here and play for us forever, but knowing where USL League One sits and players' ambition, especially young players, 19, 20, 21 years old, they don't want to stay USL League One their whole career. So let's get attached to these players. Let's support these players and let's push these players forward and support them in higher leagues too. And so that's the narrative I want to make sure we communicate here on this show, right? That we love these players and we love them so much. We want to see them move up. So let's support them the best we can while they're here because we want to develop these guys and see them go.
Yep. So, once with FC, always with FC.
That's right. What did Coach Avery say on our show? He wants the players that have come through here at the end of their careers to say, this was my first club and this was my favorite club because of the way they treated me and the way they developed me. So, let's talk about this attack, guys. We have Ayatunde, that was the most recent signing, 19 years old, out of Arsenal Academy that we've talked extensively about just a moment ago. We have Tag Healy that we talked about with Alex Ashton just briefly a moment ago. Ryan Betcher that was on the show. We have Lillian Ricol and Clarence Awudor who played together at Central Florida. And again, to the tune of 20 goals and 19 assists between the two of them in their last season at UCF. So they've got a partnership already there. Proven players, attacking players, goal scoring players at the levels that they've played at, which is why they're moving into this next level, right? But it's not always the same at the next level, right? So very few move up and very fewer of those move up, fewer of those move up to the next level. So we're optimistic about this attacking core, at least I am. What do you expect early on from these guys? They're proven attacking players, goal scorers. Avery has a good track record of developing young players and having an attacking mindset. But early on in this new league, in this new season, what do you expect from this core?
So first off, this is all speculation, right? Like we haven't seen we haven't seen a single scrimmage. That everything's been behind closed doors. But yeah, I think just based on what I know, I think Avery is going to lean heavily on that connection between Awudor and Ricol. In looking at the profiles, it looks like Ricol's probably the only true number 9 that we have. So I would expect him to be that target player up top with probably Ayatunde or Awudor on each side, and they're trying to target him in the final area. But I also think like Betcher is going to be an incredible player for us. And he has a track record in USL One, in Championship, of scoring goals coming out of the midfield. So they're going to rely on that. But then you look at behind the attack, you have people like Jeremy Garay, who has a ton of experience. So he's going to be able to play a lot of balls into the final area. And then you have JP Jordan, not to be mistaken with JP Morgan, but
there
JP Jordan is going to be the one that's recovers a lot of possession. And from what I've read of him and from what Coach Avery has shared, like he's going to cover a lot of ground behind the attack. So that frees up a lot of opportunities for the attackers to stay forward and get forward.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you expect from this output wise partnership wise, what can you expect from any team with a brand new attacking core to start a season?
Man, loaded question. So, and FWFC put out a like get to know the players today, and they highlighted Ryan Betcher, and I thought he said something that was kind of interesting. That was like, it's going to take some time. We've got a lot of new players who have maybe been a specific role in their previous team, and so now, like, how does your role change coming into a new team? And a lot of that, if we're team first, there's some sort of sacrifice with that. And is everyone, going to buy into that? And I think the answer is yes, because I don't think Coach Avery would have brought him here if he didn't think like these are the types of people that I would like to coach. So, but he did just mention, guys have not been getting too frustrated too early, because I think they're still learning like how and where they like to receive the ball. How are we going to attack? And I think also we'd be remiss if we didn't just mention some of those wing backs that we talked about earlier, right? Jaden Smith, Michael Rempel, Anthony Hernandez, who had, big attacking plays in postseason for them last year. So I think those guys are going to be included in the attack as well. That just, again, opens up more pockets of spaces for some of these guys to operate. And I think it might be not electric at the beginning of the season, but towards midseason and towards end of the season, can these guys really have a good understanding of each other and find the back of the net early and often, baby. So let's go.
Yeah.
So you guys have coached at different levels, obviously, in various levels of soccer. Like, as you put a team together and you start building, the essential building blocks for being a good team, is shooting and attacking drills, is that like number one priority when you go into training sessions, or is that usually one of the last things you do?
If I'm building a team, we start in the back. We start with the defenders. And I think Fort Wayne was very intentional with how they started to release their signings. Previous shows we mentioned, the first, 5 or 6 signings were all defenders.
Yep.
And that included the Rempel. I know Michael was on our show earlier, but then they brought in that 6'8" defender out of Columbia, yeah. Reed Sprout, Thiago Diaz, right? Like those were some of the first signings. So I think they were very intentional that they want to build that foundation in the back first and then move forward into the attack.
I think the reason I ask that is there's so much that goes into attacking play. Your pattern of play, your style, where you move, who moves into what space, who fills the space when it's vacated. It seems to get more intricate the more forward you go. As a defender, your goal is to defend your goal and get the ball forward. And sometimes it's a long ball, sometimes it's a pass through the middle, sometimes out to the wing, but you're kind of limited in where you go with the ball. You have to get more and more creative as you move up the field. Through the central midfield, which direction are you going to play? Where's the second runner going? Like, you got to have that vision, right? And so that's where I think the partnerships need to really develop, and that takes time, which is why I asked the question of what do you expect initially? So a lot of firepower. No one's questioning that on this offense. Will we see it week 1, week 2, week 3? I don't know. But they've had 6 weeks in training camp to develop that. I don't know if all these players have been there the whole time or if they've come kind of in and out since they started, but it does take time to develop those partnerships. So if we can sneak away, we've got 5 road games. That is hard. That's a hard way to start any season, but to start your first season in the league, if we can come home with a couple of points, I'd be excited about that. And then see what they can do in front of our home stands, our home fans, and on their home pitch.
Yeah, and I think to answer your question, Brian, from my point of view about, do you work on, patterns of play and then shooting technique and trying to get in on goal? And I think obviously, like, you need to be sharp in your finishing. But as a coach, you probably encounter two problems. Either number one is you're not creating enough chances, which is like maybe a crux of a problem that you really need to hit the training pitch and figure out. And then number two, if you are creating those chances and then we're just not executing, then yes, we need to like tighten up on like being like super targeted on where we're aiming for goal and just like getting finishes under pressure like consistently. So I think it's probably like the most challenging thing in soccer, right? Is to like be able to penetrate defenses and score goals. So that's why attackers, I think, probably get paid the big bucks. So
that's right. To your point earlier, Micah, the partnership that's already developed between Awudor and Rico because of their playing experience, right? Last year we saw a trio from Florida Atlantic playing on this team. Played really well together, played a lot of time together because of their familiarity with each other. So I would expect that partnership out there to start the season. But again, we don't know. That's total speculation, but that would be my guess to start this as well, just to get off on the right foot with a couple of guys that already know each other well and already know style of play, where the runs are coming from, at least from the two of them. And you add in these other pieces. So, we look at next week, we're going to do a kind of a full season, like preview of like, what are some of our, predictions early on, where's Fort Wayne going to finish on the table? Who are going to be the standout players? We'll do all that next week. But if you had to, not knowing anything, obviously, of any of these teams and any other preseason stuff, we've got 5 games on the road. When Fort Wayne starts May 2nd at Fort Wayne FC Park, how many points do they have?
By the that's tough to say. That's really tough to say, especially.
And we know nothing. We could be totally wrong, and if we're right, it's a total guess.
I don't want to be that guy that says, "Yeah, we're going to come back with 15 points," right? Like that's. I don't think that's realistic. Man, that's tough. I would be happy if we come back with, I'll say 5 points, a win and 2 draws. I think that should set us up pretty well.
Okay,
that's my number, Micah. So I'm just going to second that.
You guys aren't optimistic enough. I'm going with 7 points.
Let's
7
go.
points on the road. And I don't know if they'll come in a lot of draws and a win or 2, but we'll see how that plays out. We've got Matt McWilliams says 5. Giovanni says 7. So they're right there with us.
That's the range.
Yeah, no, man, it's going to be fun once the season kicks off and we get going. We've got a lot more to talk about once the season goes. Paul agrees on 5 points. Grabbing a point average on the road is it's a good way to do it. As we wrap up this show, we mentioned earlier, we talked about it a little bit last week. We do have a second show starting. It's going to come your way in April. And we'll tell you more about that on Patreon. We'll get that information out to our Patreon supporters first on the official release date. But to give you a little bit of background on that show, as we move into the USL League One season, March 7th is kickoff. This show will shift to cover Fort Wayne FC and USL League One news. Our second show that will start in April will pick up on all the other local soccer news that you've come to love and appreciate about the show. Like, I know some of our biggest shows have been our high school mid-season, standout player shows and postseason award shows. And we've got a lot of people that tune in for our local soccer, lower level, youth soccer, all of that. And we don't want to leave that coverage behind. So we're actually starting a second show to cover all of that. Again, more details will come. And that's one reason we're expanding our team. You've seen some new faces on Fort Wayne Footy the last couple of weeks. We've introduced Sean, we've introduced Anthony, and we've introduced Amanda, who will all be part of, in some way, shape, or form, this other show and what that looks like. And so as that is being put together, again, we'll start making some announcements over on Patreon. Join us over there, become a Footy Faithful on Patreon, find out all that news first. And we do have our merch store open as well. Posted something about that today. If you're interested in grabbing some merch, we'll put some more up there when that second show starts, because it's going to have a different look. It's going to have a different name, and we'll put some merch up for that show as well. Final thoughts, guys. Anything from tonight's show or anything in League One with Fort Wayne FC that really gets you excited as we wrap up this show?
I think not excited, but I think the message that I want to send out is that Fort Wayne FC is doing it the right way. I know the first part of the show was a bit of doom and gloom, but I have full confidence from the office, the conversation that we've had with players, like by far, like we are doing it the right way.
Yeah, agreed. I second that. Sean, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I echo Micah. We love DeMarcus Beasley and we love Coach Ave, and we love, what the front office is doing, Ollie Gage, and, they're putting together a team that I think, we're really excited about and that they're really confident in. And, we're going to have a good product on the field. And I think we're going to be able to hang with anyone. We might not be, cream of the crop just yet, but we're going to be a team that I think is going to be formidable and going to be tough and excited to just like cheer them on and follow their journey through the ups and downs of a tough league. So I'm excited about this attack. I think Ryan Betcher is a little underrated. I think he's gonna be top goal scorer. I'm gonna call it now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Top goal. Here we're already season preview. Sean Black, Ryan Betcher, top goal scorer for this team. No, thanks for that, guys. I think just to round out the show, my final thoughts would just be to echo Micah a little bit, right? Fort Wayne's doing it the right way, but the way Fort Wayne is doing it is attracting players that play at a really high level. And again, that may be the same thing for other teams around the league, but there's something I think special going on here in Fort Wayne that don't count us out of that top 5 come late this season. I think what they're developing and what they're doing here is something special. And it's not going to be a failure of a season if they don't, but I'm just saying, don't count them out of that top 5 going into the last couple weeks of the season. I think this team is solid, and I'm just looking forward to seeing them live in action, which you can do next week, February 27th, 5 p.m. game in Lexington. If you want to travel to Lexington, there is a scrimmage there, a preseason, their final preseason friendly that's open to the public. It'll be a doubleheader. Lexington will be playing Fort Wayne FC, and then another Lexington team will be playing the University of Kentucky men's squad. I believe, maybe I have that backwards. Don't quote me on that. Ryan's our go-to guy. Ryan, if you're in the chat, correct me on that. Maybe the women's team who's playing second. So, but yes, if you want to travel to Lexington, you can see our boys in action before the season really gets started.
You got me excited, Brian. I thought it was going to be like at Indiana Tech, and then it's in Lexington, Kentucky.
It's only a 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah, it's not that far. It's not too far. My son is my son's a student at Tech, and he told me the other day, he was like, "Dad, you were right. I walked past and they were out there playing." I was like, "Yeah, I told you they were." Like, give me reports, man. He was like, "I was going to the gym. I got to work out, Dad." So anyway, no, that'll do it for this episode of Fort Wayne Footy. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for being part of what we do. And we'll see you next Sunday night. Have a great week.